1:19 p.m. Southern Hall. Though the Palazzo is the seat of Piedmont's government, it is also the residence of those who govern. So, while the lower level is, by design, somewhat cavernous and foreboding, a genuine attempt has been made to make the upper level somewhat more homey, with beach flooring, top-notch chandeliers, and rich burgundy runner carpets. In this particular hall, however, that sentiment may be misplaced. Though the bay windows before you and cloud-dappled sky beyond are cheery enough, this hallway ought to send chills up the spine of every man, woman, and child in Piedmont, for the door to the south leads to the quarters of Interior Minister Varicella Modo, whose term in office has been marked by a sharp increase in the number of disappearances each week, and who bears more than his share of responsibility for that chemical weapons depot that accidentally exploded last year. He has left his mark on this place, though. The runner carpet beneath your feet bears discolored footprints in just Modo's size. Less disconcerting areas of the palace can be found to the east and west. A guard stands watch over the entrance to Modo's quarters, visibly trembling. Princess Charlotte follows you. Examine the ground. Some substance on Modo's footwear has managed to stain the rich burgundy runner carpet a sickly green color. And what's more, it seems that one of those prints has actually eaten through the carpet, revealing the beach flooring underneath. How very unseemly. Examine the beach flooring. The beach flooring is one of the few positive legacies of your predecessor. At any rate, it certainly reflects better on him than the avocado formica in the kitchen. That you had torn out within an hour of your appointment. Examine the ceiling. 3 massive chandeliers hang from the ceiling. Examine, windows. Are there any here? These windows overlook the palace courtyard. Nothing special there. Examine the guard. Like the other guards in the palace, guard number 3414 is dressed in a sharp black uniform with fabulous gold-fringed epaulets. He is drenched with sweat, however. We're going to set our tone to hostile. You adopt a hostile tone. Guard, go south. Go south immediately, you yellow-bellied coward, you shout. The guard gulps and approaches the door, which obligingly slides open. Good God. Modo's quarters seem to have transformed overnight into some kind of hellish rainforest. The floor, ceiling, and walls are all caked with a stomach-turning green goop of some sort, with undulating green tendrils as big around as your chest, extending from ceiling to floor. Darker green splotches skitter from tendril to tendril like insects, occasionally exploding in a wet, bubbling burst that leaves a thin green filament extending from one vine to another. The hot, wet stench seems to have a substance all its own, like a hand reaching into your nose and throat to strangle you from within. The only item in the room not completely engulfed in the green muck is a desk, on which stands a curiously untouched test tube rack. The guard whimpers miserably and takes a few tentative steps inside. "Can I come out now?" he asks. Princess Charlotte glances into the Interior Minister's quarters. "Lemonade," she cries, eyes alighting on the vials in the test tube rack. "Lemonade and pink lemonade." She turns to the guard. "Bring it to me." The guard says. "I'd rather not—" "Silence!" Princess Charlotte insists. "I am a princess, and you shall do as I say." The guard quails, but Princess Charlotte starts beating him about the head, and he reluctantly scampers into the Interior Minister's quarters. Picking his way carefully through the tendrils, the guard grabs the test tube rack off the desk, and the green slime responds by swallowing the rest of the desk, while a pulsating green pseudopod reaches down from the ceiling and wraps itself around his throat. Screaming, he flings the test tube rack out of the door and tries to fight off the substance, but it sluices down his body, dissolving clothing and flesh and bone. Soon the screams subside. The door closes. Princess Charlotte removes the vials from the broken test tube rack and sniffs them. "Hey, this isn't lemonade after all," she says. She hands you the vials and turns to the closed door. "You can come back out now," she announces. A moment passes. "Why aren't you coming out?" she asks. "Is this because I hit you?" I wasn't punishing you. I was disciplining you. We'll set our tone back to cordial. Examine that rack. The test tube rack is no longer in any shape to fulfill its designated function. Inventory. We will examine the vial of pink liquid. This is a small vial containing a pink fluid of some sort. Examine the yellow liquid vial. This is a small vial containing a canary yellow fluid of some sort. Go west. Southwest Tower antechamber. The southwest tower lies, astonishingly, to the southwest, while other exits lead east to the southern and north to the western hall. Princess Charlotte follows you. Southwest. Southwest Tower, middle level. You are standing before an arch that connects the upper level of the palace, accessible to the northwest, with a massive marble spiral staircase that comprises the southwest tower, which leads up and down. Princess Charlotte trails after you. Climb up. Southwest Tower, top level. You are standing at the top of the massive marble spiral staircase that comprises the southwest tower. Before you, to the southwest, is the door to the quarters of Prince Louis. A guard leans against the door, flipping through a magazine. Princess Charlotte follows you. Examine the guard. Like the other guards in the palace, guard number 6235 is dressed in a sharp black uniform with fabulous gold-fringed epaulets. His, however, is stained with vivid orange streaks, as if finger-painted. Examine stain. Examine streaks. You surmise that the orange streaks are the result of the guards having consumed some cheese puffs earlier in the afternoon and having neglected to bring a napkin. Examine the magazine. It's the latest issue of Guard's Life. How wholesome. Go southwest. Prince Louis's quarters. Prince Louis's room is virtually indistinguishable from a squatter camp on the outskirts of Buenos Aires, cluttered with more trash than can be left by 100 dedicated transients, and pungent with a stench of dissolution. Even the panoramic windows to the south and west are clouded in some sort of greasy film. How unseemly. The exit is to the northeast. Princess Charlotte follows you. She takes a deep breath. Testosterone, she says. I bet I could get pregnant just from standing here, huh? Examine the ground. The chartreuse shag carpeting is covered with a thick crust. You may never be able to wear these shoes again. Examine the ceiling. The ceiling is spattered with undeniable stains. You might find this mysterious if you didn't primarily find it revolting. Examine the windows. Same description. However, this window is clouded with a greasy film. Examine the bed. Prince Louis should be proud of himself. Now that he's finally in his 30s, he no longer has any need for the rubber sheet. What else do we have here? Let's examine the trash. Amid the garbage in which you find yourself ankle deep, you can identify such items as an old pizza, a pornographic magazine, and several empty bags of cheese puffs. Examine the pizza. Prince Louis may not have ordered this pizza with mushrooms, but it certainly has them now. Examine the cheese puffs. You wonder which of these belong to Prince Louis and which were tossed in here by the guard. Examine the magazine. The centerfold reads, Miss Thermidor, Year 4. Most of these types of depraved publications date back to the short-lived Parisian Revolution, the same revolution that saw both of Queen Sarah's parents casually beheaded as she looked on. But his sister-in-law's feelings clearly don't count for much in Prince Louis's eyes when a chance to examine Miss Thermidor's nether regions is involved. Princess Charlotte looks over your shoulder. Hey, I think I went to summer camp with her, she says. Examine rats. You can't see them right this instant, but you can feel their beady little eyes boring holes into you. I think there's only the one exit, northeast of the southwest tower. A guard leans against the door, flipping through a magazine. Princess Charlotte wanders after you. Go down. Southwest tower, middle level. Princess Charlotte trails after you. Go northeast. Southwest tower antechamber. Princess Charlotte follows in your wake. There will be no cakes today, she declares. Go north. New room. Western hall. Exit check. In this, the western hall, the carpet shows little sign of wear. The door to the west leads to the quarters of War Minister Klaus Verkite, who is, as usual, off on some campaign. This time he's taking his aggression out on Venice. To the east, an arch leads to a balcony overlooking the palace courtyard. Tower antechambers lie to the north and south. A guard stands watch over the entrance to Verkite's quarters, giggling hysterically to himself. Princess Charlotte wanders after you. Examine the ground. The carpet is burgundy with understated beige cross-hatching running through it. Perhaps not what you might have selected, but at least it's tasteful. Examine the ceiling. 3 massive chandeliers hang from the ceiling. I think they have the same description as the others. Examine the guard. Guard number 2901 is a gaunt-eyed fellow, dressed in a sharp black uniform with fabulous gold-fringed epaulets. Can we examine the door? The door is designed to slide open and shut automatically, permitting the passage of those carrying the proper key. Since you have the master key, you should be able to enter any door you like. Examine arch. This is a simple arch-shaped portal out to the balcony. Examine east to the balcony. The balcony is really little more than a window box, with guardrails at what would be about knee, waist, and shoulder level, if the balcony could actually support someone's weight. Go north. Northwest tower antechamber. The northwest tower lies, astoundingly, to the northwest, while other exits lead east to the throne room and south to the western hall. Princess Charlotte follows in your wake. Let's go northwest. Northwest tower, middle level. You are standing before an arch that connects the upper level of the palace, accessible to the southeast, with a massive marble spiral staircase that comprises the northwest tower, which leads up and down. Princess Charlotte wanders after you. Go up. Northwest tower, top level. You are standing at the top of the massive marble spiral staircase that comprises the northwest tower. Before you, to the northwest, is the door to your quarters. A guard stands slouched in the doorframe, clearly asleep. Princess Charlotte wanders after you. "Wake up, sailor!" Princess Charlotte barks, roughly shoving the guard to the ground. "There's no room for barnacles on this ship!" The guard brushes himself off, thoroughly bewildered. Examine that guard. Like the other guards in the palace, guard number 3479 is dressed in a sharp black uniform with fabulous gold-fringed epaulets. His is a bit rumpled, however. Let's go northwest. Your quarters. Exit check. You may have been relegated to the top of this tower, but that hasn't impeded you from imbuing your quarters with an excellence that not even a team of interior decorators flown in from Kyoto could achieve. Only someone with your finely honed sensibilities could have taken this amount of space and kept it from seeming appallingly cramped. Though the panoramic windows to the north and west do their part in opening up the room, you still have to give most of the credit to yourself. The exit lies to the southeast. Your bed stands in one corner. In another, an elegant rosewood dresser, complete with mirror and false bottom. On the dresser are a bottle of scented hair oil and a tube of hand lotion. The oil painting on the wall is slightly askew. Princess Charlotte wanders after you. Examine Charlotte. It's very similar. Sorry, I thought it said something different from when she was following you. Examine the windows. Examine the bed. The mattress on this bed is a Schlafmeister 5000, which was at the cutting edge in mattress technology when you purchased it a year and a half ago. Sadly, it was almost immediately eclipsed by the Comodissimo Pro series. And though you've been attempting to procure one for ages now, the distributor keeps telling you that they're on back order. Examine the ground. The floor is a herringbone pattern of Brazilian walnut with a clear polyurethane seal. Exquisite. Examine the ceiling. You had some grand plans for this ceiling, but you suppose that at this point they are best left for whomever you appoint as palace minister once you become regent. Examine the painting. The oil painting depicts Augustus Caesar having the assassins who killed Julius Caesar put to death. Ah, old Rome. There was an empire. You almost weep to think that you must content yourself with absolute control over such a tiny principality as Piedmont. Examine the dresser. When you managed to purloin the latest import statement from the coffers minister's quarters and found this dresser, originally a gift from the Sung court to the ambassador, listed among the items therein, you really had no choice but to waylay it. It would have gone to waste moldering away at the ambassador's Piedmont residence. You were simply doing your part to avert certain tragedy. The dresser has 5 drawers and is crowned by a large mirror. Get the painting. You take the oil painting off the wall, revealing your surveillance system. The monitor has been smashed in. Sabotage, sabotage. Someone is going to pay and pay dearly, oh yes. Gosh, that show must have been really bad, Princess Charlotte remarks. Examine monitor. The monitor has been damaged beyond repair. Examine surveillance system. Your surveillance system consists of a monitor, currently smashed, and, currently hidden by a panel, a pair of retractable cables and a channel selection dial. Oh, when you think of all the effort you put in, contracting menial laborers to install hidden cameras in every room of the palace, and then assuring their silence by having them assigned to projects in Argentina, hiring electricians to turn the cables up to the top of to run the cables up to the top of this tower, without telling them what the cables were for. And this end of the system, with the monitor and cables and such, you designed yourself, though Tertio did most of the heavy lifting involved. And now, but all is not lost, of course. So long as the output cable still functions, your surveillance capabilities have been diminished not one whit. Of course, someone is still going to pay, and pay dearly. Oh yes. Examine the panel. This is a panel used to conceal the retractable cables used in your surveillance system. Open panel. You open the panel, revealing a dial and 2 cables, one white, one black. Examine the white. Which do you mean, the straitjacket or the white cable? This cable, when connected to the input jack of your master key, erases the program indicated by the slider. Thus, it must be used with care. Of course, you would never be so thoughtless as to plug the erasure cable into the jack without making double-checking that the slider indicated a program you wanted to delete. Examine the black. This cable, when connected to the input jack of your master key, relays the video onto the key's LCD screen. This allows the video to be not only viewed, but also stored for later replay. Get black. You reel the black cable out a bit. Plug it in jack. You put the black cable into the input jack. On screen, grand foyer. 2 guards stand watch over the front entrance to the palace. Examine the dial. This is a simple dial, numbered from 0 to 45. It is currently set to 0. Set dial to 17. On screen, Christ Minister's quarters. Math is stupid, Prince Charles cries. And you're stupid. The Christ Minister slaps Charles to the ground with a meaty paw. You will learn to respect your elders, brat, he bellows. Now you will begin again, and this time you will do the problems correctly. Press record. The button makes a satisfying click as you capture the video buffer. The scene you have just witnessed is now available for playback. On screen, Christminister's quarters. Young Prince Charles sits at a flimsy desk doing addition problems as the Christminister watches, scowling. Examine drawer. Which do you mean, top, second, third, or fourth? Top. This is the topmost drawer of your dresser. Are they also simple? Examine all of the drawers. This is the second drawer from the bottom of your dresser. And the bottom. This is the bottommost drawer in your dresser. Sort of. Open bottom. You open the bottom drawer, revealing an old robe. That's the same old screen. Examine the robe. This is a threadbare old robe, carelessly folded and stuffed into the drawer, which, at the time, was full of wet glue. You see, this robe is not to be worn. Its presence in the drawer is merely to hide the fact that the drawer has a false bottom. Open, false bottom. You open the secret compartment, revealing 10 500-franc bills and a dagger. Examine the bills. This is a bill worth 500 Piedmont francs, roughly a day's pay for the moderately well-off. It is a rich purple in color and bears a portrait of Charles the Photogenic. Charles the Rich was the one who founded Piedmont's banking system and guided the state to the most economically prosperous period in its history. However, his portrait didn't market test as well, so the currency designers went a different way. Examine the dagger. The dagger is so sharp that it makes a distinctive ringing sound when you move it through the air. You've had it fitted with a pewter handle so that it can pass for a letter opener, should you ever be caught with it. Get bills, dagger, comma. Get bills, dagger, bottle. We didn't look at these things. Examine the bottle. This is a splendid scented hair oil containing essences of almond and apricot. Examine the tube. Which do you mean, the tube of hand lotion? Lotion. This is an exquisite hand lotion with aloe and peach extract. Get bills. Lotion. What did I call the other one? Bottle. Dagger. And black cable. 500 franc bills, all taken. Tube of hand lotion, bottle of scented hair oil, taken. Dagger. You hide the dagger in the folds of your cloak. Black cable. You pull the cable out of the input jack. Drop it. The black cable snaps back into place the moment you let go. Examine the mirror. A triumph of the glazier's art, this mirror has been subjected to the same battery of tests as those used in the Moore's infernal telescopes. Examine self. You are the very model of a modern palace minister. Fingernails, spectacular. Mustaches, flawless. Hairline, receding more slowly than last month, you're certain of it. You're carrying a dagger, a bottle of scented hair oil, a tube of hand lotion, 10 500-franc bills, a vial of pink liquid, a vial of yellow liquid, some pair of scissors, letter from the Queen, and your master key. You are wearing that full ensemble. Examine my fingernails. You would rather go down in history as having failed to seize power than as having seized power but having had grubby fingernails while doing so. Examine my mustaches. Surely these are the mustaches of a regent. Examine my hairline. Some find an ample forehead quite becoming. Or at least, that's what you tell yourself. We will then go southeast next.